So I keep getting this question. Actually, there's two questions. One is, what deck size do I get? And another is, do I get side discharge or rear discharge? And so we'll start with deck size and move from that to side and, rear discharge. On your deck, the advantages, so like on a Skag or a Hustler, they used to have, on Hustler, they've got 60, 66, and then 72. Well, they did away with the 66, and so you can no longer get that, but I have a ton of people that are still looking into getting those. They're a very sought after mower, but you can't get them anymore. So we're just going to stick with the 60 and the 72 and the 61 and the 72, which is what Skag and Hustler offer. Exmark offers. Just about everybody in the industry offers pretty much a 60-inch or a 72-inch in your upper mowers. Now, yes, you can get like a 52 and a 48, but I'm not going to talk about those right now because you can kind of judge off of what I'm saying between these two for the same cycle on those. Now, on a 60-inch, some of the advantages are going to be resale value, ease of getting it on a trailer. So there's more people looking for a 60-inch mower than they are a 72. So that's why I say the resale value. Now, another thing is going to be your trailer size. So you can get a 60-inch on a lot littler trailer and fit more mowers on there, which is going to be less cost for you as an operator. And you can't get the 72s in a lot of places that you can get the 60s. So just keep that in mind. Now, the main thing for me, and this is going to go across the board on the decks, the bigger the deck you get, the wider you get, the easier it is for that mower to scalp. So let's say you're mowing and you're going into valleys or dips, or anything like that, and you've got to get off camber. Well, anytime that you shift, your front tire starts to go up and it's going to contort your deck. That's going to shift your deck up in the air, and that's going to cause your deck to scalp. Now, all these companies put these like anti-scalp wheels and stuff on these decks, but that does not prevent it from scalping. And when you jump from like a 60-inch mower right here to a 72, there is a huge difference in how wide that deck is. And so it makes it to where it kicks up dramatically, and you're having to float the deck with your foot a ton on the mower when you're mowing. So it's one of those things that deck is a lot more work. Now, as far as the 72, some of the, advantages to a 72 are you're going to have a wider side, so it's going to stick out past the tire more. So potentially you can stick that little side of your deck under like fence lines and around trees and stuff and not have to get as close to them. But like I said, for 90% of people, the thing that really is going to make a difference is the cut quality. So when you get into a 61, you get into, 52, 48, every time you go up in deck size, that's more grass that deck has to take on. And, they've only got so much horsepower. So it's not like you can go get a Skag with a 61-inch deck and get it with a 50-horse motor on it. So you're not getting any more horsepower to your deck. So when you take on, 10, 12 inches more of grass, that's that much more less horsepower you have to put into that deck when you're cutting. So, and this is one of the craziest things. I've seen people get on YouTube, and there's actually a pretty big guy on YouTube, and he does a lot of respectable content, but he said that the 72s cut better than the 60s. I have not seen that in any case. Every case I've ever seen, the 60-inch mowers always cut and discharge better because they have more horsepower and ability to, take on grass than the 72s. So the problem with the 72 is you got 3 blades, just like you got 3 blades here. You've got the same deck design. You've got the same, everything's the same. It's just a bigger deck. So I, for the life of me, can't see how some of these people are saying, and I've had them out here, they do not cut as good as the 60s. So you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at that. You're not going to get, especially when you get in, I don't know, maybe these people are judging from like non-lush grass. But if you're in Kentucky bluegrass, fine fescue, things like that, and you're taking on a ton of grass, that's that much more that has to mulch up in one pass because it's taking it on in that same pass, where a 60 is taking on a lot less. Same thing for a 52, 48, whatever, along with the scalp. But the 72s just do not seem to do as well cutting as the 60s. And like I said, all the other factors go into that. Now, if we go to side discharge to rear discharge, and the reason I'm going to answer is because I keep getting this all over, and it seems like people on the internet are all over, and they think for some reason that rear discharge, and I just don't want someone to buy a mower and spend a lot of money, and I've seen this at least 10 times this year where someone has been on the forums and they're trying to sell their rear discharge because the dealer told them it cut just as good as the side discharge, or their buddy told them, whatever. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not possible for a rear discharge to cut as good as a side discharge. And the number one reason, besides it just shooting all out the back, is because it shoots out the side on a side discharge. So when you make a pass, like let's say you make a pass and you go straight out this way and you cut, and then you turn around and you come back and you make a pass this way, and then you make a pass this way. Well, every time you turn and go the other way, you're cutting your clippings up again that you cut as you go along. Now, a rear discharge, it's just going to spit it straight out the back. You're going to go all the way forward, turn straight out the back. A lot of rear discharge gives you a windrow, especially if you get into really thick grass. So the way that a rear discharge works is you've got 3 blades, but the problem is these 2 are all feeding it towards the center. So all your grass is spread out between your 2 tires. So imagine if you had a side discharge. If you've ever watched the discharge on a side discharge, you'll have discharge sometimes that is, 8 or 10 foot wide spread, sometimes more than that. Plus it's shooting it out. It'll shoot it out as, some of them will shoot it out almost as wide as this building is right here. The side discharge cut a ton better. So I just want people to understand that I don't know why your buddy or the dealers are telling these people that rear discharge will cut as good. It will not, and it's just not. The only benefit I could ever see to getting a rear discharge is, one, if you was mowing cemeteries and you wanted to go between the tombstones and not shoot grass all over the tombstones, because, obviously side discharge, if you try to go between the tombstones, you're going to hit the tombstones. So a rear discharge would be handy for that. Or if you was just cutting anything that had to do with scenarios where you was going between a lot of things and you didn't want to shoot it out the side. Because another thing is, I think a lot of people in the industry think that if you get a chute blocker, and this is any chute blocker, it does not matter what you get. If you get a chute blocker on your mower, you cannot leave that chute blocker down and mow very fast. And also, you just can't mow for a long time with that chute blocker down because there's nowhere for that grass to go. And so what it'll do is it'll start kicking it out the front here, out the back, out the sides, because it's jammed up in there. A chute blocker is only meant to be down for a very short period of time. So if you put that chute blocker down, like I see people all the time, and their thought process is, oh, I'll just put a chute blocker on here and leave that thing down and mow my whole yard and mulch it up. Well, you're going to have an awful mess. So, and I've had multiple mowers with chute blockers. They work great for the simple purpose of if you're pulling up in the yard and you start to go around something, you can literally put it down for the 5 seconds that you're going around a plant or something and then open it back up. But I tell you what, if anybody that's on here, if you know, as soon as you open that thing up, that thing shoots out a ton of grass. So I just wanted people to know that this is, picking your deck, there's never too much knowledge and too many things that you can know. But all around, it's very hard to beat a 60-inch deck because it's big enough to get everything done, but you can also get it into tight spaces. And a 60 or 61, Skag 61. And I like a bigger deck, and I absolutely love the Hustler Hyperdrive with a 66-inch deck. And when I mowed with it, I would mow in the way that I would cut at about 63 inches, and that gave me a big overpass on each side. And that thing just cut phenomenal. If you can get a hold of a 66-inch deck, they are a very sought-after deck. But like I said, they quit mowing them. And another thing, we've been talking about giving away this this Dynavox full delete. Now, it doesn't have a tune with it, but the reason I want to show you guys this is because I've got this that I'm going to give away. And this is for a 17 to a 22. Now, it says 23 on the website, but I don't think that it works with a 23. It might. I'm not sure. But supposedly it has everything you need for a delete. I've got the block-off plates and everything upstairs. You can see my video on that, a few of them back. And so I showcase that. But we're going to give this away. And the way I'm going to give this away is I'm going to start uploading some of my sermons. What a lot of you don't know is I preach at my church from time to time. And I've got a sermon coming up, and I want to upload it and just showcase some of the other things in my life and also talk about God, because that has been a total game changer for my life. And just, I've been very blessed in the way that I've followed Christ. And that doesn't mean that everything couldn't be taken from me tomorrow, but hopefully I would be like Job in that scenario and realize that everything is God's anyway. But I'm going to upload that sermon, and the futuristic videos and stuff will showcase what you got to do to win this exhaust system. So you guys can just let me know your thoughts on all the side discharge and all that stuff. But to me, all the things that I've showcased and talked about are the absolute things that make me choose a side discharge and a 60-inch mower. Like I said, the 72s and all that, they've got a lot of things that I just dislike.